Hey guys, it's me Lily, and it was about time that I make this video here. So today I want to make a video about Hashimoto's disease. This is the disease that I have. Actually, I have found a really good way to feel much better even without the medication. I know that a lot of people have this disease. It's like a plague here in Europe. I know so many people who have it, and I hope that this video helps a person, or maybe a person who knows a person who has Hashimoto disease. So stay tuned. Okay, so now let me tell you my story. I have been sick for 7 years now, and sometimes it was really not so funny anymore. So sometimes I was really so sick I could not get up from the couch. And yeah, 7 years ago I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease. It's an autoimmune disease where the body attacks the thyroid. The thyroid sits exactly here. The thyroid is super important for the human body, and without the thyroid you would die. Okay, that's how important the thyroid is. Now, with Hashimoto's disease, the body, for some reason, they are not quite sure why, but the body is attacking the thyroid and it is destroying the thyroid over time. So now the thyroid is making less and less hormones, very important hormones that the body needs, and then you get really tired. So tiredness is a big symptom of Hashimoto's disease. Okay. So before I tell you what happened when I got diagnosed, I first want to tell you what happened before that. So my story before I got sick was basically, I have been quite healthy all of my life, but sometimes I got infections like bladder infections or sinusitis, or I also had big troubles with my teeth, and I had to take quite a lot of antibiotics in my life. So I think I have taken more than 100 antibiotics because I had bladder infections quite often, like 3 or 4 times a year sometimes. So it really adds up with the time. And yeah, after I studied, I worked for an accountancy office, and that's when I was getting sicker and sicker, my health deteriorated, and yeah, so with all of these antibiotics and with all of the stress in work, you know, I was so fatigued all of the time. When I was coming home, I was too tired to cook some proper food, so most of the time I was eating fast food or really bad food, and yeah, the typical Austrian diet is not really healthy as well. So over the time my health deteriorated and I got all kinds of sicknesses, and then also I always had gut ache and it wouldn't go away anymore. So my gut hurt for 1.5 years and no doctor could find any reason, or no doctor could help me. So they were dragging me into the hospital, but they couldn't find anything, but I still had gut ache. And then when the doctor said he wants to cut me up, then I just ran out of the hospital because I knew there had to be some reason, and I was pretty damn sure that it could not be solved with surgery. Okay, so I was in pretty bad shape, and then all of a sudden I was getting really tired all of the time. It didn't matter how much I slept. And then one doctor found out that I got Hashimoto's disease. And yeah, that struck me really badly because I thought, what did I do wrong, you know? That I have gotten this disease now. Autoimmune disease, it's not some easy infection that you can get away with antibiotics. It's unhealable, right? So then I got this disease, and I went to the thyroid doctor, and the thyroid doctor gave me thyroid hormones. So if you have Hashimoto's disease And if you are hypothyroid, you will get hormones, you take them orally, and then you should feel better. And a lot of people take this medication, and a lot of people feel better with the medication. But I also know a lot of people who don't feel better with this medication. They say, yeah, I'm taking the medication and my TSH is perfect, but I'm not feeling fine, yeah? So there are a lot of people who still don't feel fine with the medication. And I was a special case because I could not take the medication. I could not work anymore. I was really bad at work then, and I was starting to make mistakes. And then I lost a lot of weight, which is also unusual because usually you should gain weight with Hashimoto's disease. So yeah, I was taking the medication, but I felt really sick and I thought I had to take it. And then it was getting so bad after 2 years that I just threw away the medication. And then I was starting to feel better, but then I got tired again because I had Hashimoto's disease, right? So I was blaming the medication, then I tried 5,000 other medications and it was always the same. And I went to like 6 different thyroid doctors and they all said, well, if you can't take the medication, then I can't help you. So basically nobody could help me and I was living with a hypothyroid condition in the last 6 years. And I still am. Now I found a medication which is a little bit better. It's made from the thyroid of a pig. So it's a little bit better for me now. But I still can't take more than 8 or 10 micrograms. And I should take like 50 micrograms of T4 hormones. And yeah, I have to say, in this condition, life was not so easy. And sometimes I had to stay on the couch for weeks. I could not make any video. And sometimes I felt better. That's when I was making my videos for YouTube. And yeah, the condition got worse and worse actually. So towards the end of these 6-7 years, I felt worse and worse, and it was so awful. So yeah, it didn't seem to get better, and I was really, really depressed. Yeah, I suffered a lot from this disease. But then I did a little bit of research because I did not have another choice, because no other doctor would help me. And then I found this book here, Hashimoto's Thyroiditis, Root Cause, The Root Cause by Isabella Vance. She's a pharmacist and she had the same disease, and she also did a lot of research on this topic, and she found out quite some important things. And she said that there could be many reasons for this Hashimoto's disease, so they don't really know why people get it. It might be genetical, but you always need a trigger, which needs to come from the environment. So it can be triggered by a virus or other pathogens, or even your diet, or like if you get poisoned or something. So there are many reasons why you could get this disease here. And she also found out that eating gluten and milk might trigger this disease. And yeah, I don't want to go into too much details why this is triggering the disease. Gluten and milk, the casein, the protein in milk, is pretty big, and so is gluten. And it's really hard to digest, and somehow it can damage your intestinal wall of your guts, and it gets into your bloodstream, and then your body tries to eliminate this trigger, and it makes antibodies, and somehow there's a molecular mimicry, and it looks somewhat the same like the thyroid cells, and by accident it also attacks the thyroid cells. So this is the theory, and it made sense to me. And then I tried to cut out gluten and milk, and I have done this diet for over a year now. Yeah, so pretty much over a year I am gluten-free and dairy-free, so I have not eaten any dairy or any gluten at all. And you have to be really careful because sometimes gluten are hidden in some products that you wouldn't have guessed. For example, very often you will find wheat in soy sauce, so be careful of that. And also there is gluten in beer. But gladly they produce now beer which is without gluten. And also there are many other products that you can find, gluten-free bread and so on. So yeah, you have to look very closely to what you're eating, and you have to look out especially in restaurants because you have to speak to the chef every time you go to a restaurant. And yeah, that is what I have done in the last year. And yeah, I have to say, since the time I stopped eating gluten and milk, like 1.5 weeks after that, I felt better. Okay, so I felt really better, like not so exhausted anymore. And then after 3 weeks of doing this diet, I felt really good. I was still a little bit tired because of the Hashimoto's disease, and I'm still hypothyroid, but still I felt so much better. And you know, I could go for a walk again and do more videos in the forest, and it was really getting better, and I felt it. I felt that I had more energy again. And now I'm doing this diet for 1 year and I feel so good. I can do so many things now, like I can do overnighters again, I can even go for really long walks, I can do some running, I go to a special kind of training 2 times a week now, physical training, and yeah, I'm getting really fit, and my tiredness is really small anymore, so I feel like I have 90% of my energy back, although I still have Hashimoto's disease. Now, besides the gluten-free and milk-free diet, I also took a lot of vitamins and probiotics. Maybe I should get my medication that I take. Okay, this is it. Okay, so let's start with the probiotics. This is really important because it's going to restore your gut function, and I'm taking this every day. If I don't take this every day, then I get really tired after I eat something. So this is really, really important. And with this, I really feel great. But yeah, they are really expensive also. So a lot of money is going into these medication here. Probiotics. And as an alternative to this, I sometimes eat sauerkraut, which is full with probiotics as well, but make sure that it's not pasteurized. So probiotics are a big topic. Sauerkraut, you can make kimchi and beet kvass. So right now I have this here in my fridge, and this is beet kvass. So you make this with red beet, and it's basically fermenting, and then it's producing a lot of good bacteria, and every day I'm eating a little bit from this glass here. So you can easily ferment vegetables by yourself, and you will get some really good gut bacteria from it. The thyroid medication that I'm taking, I have to say this is the best one that I found. It's Nature Freud, and yeah, it comes from the thyroid of a pig. The next, very important, calcium and vitamin D3. Yeah, super important. I just came back from the doctor yesterday, and I don't have enough of vitamin D and calcium, so this is what I have to take again. Yeah, this is good also. Ashwagandha extract and reishi mushroom. This is really important for your adrenal glands, and it will make your life easier. Vitamin C every day, super important. Magnesium, I take this before I go to bed because it relaxes the muscles. Omega-3, yeah, this is important for everything. So you really need very good fats for your body. And then super important for Hashimoto patients is this here, selenium and zinc. So these are two important minerals that you need for a good thyroid function. So from the selenium I'm taking 200 milligrams, what is this? Micrograms every day. And from the zinc I'm taking 30 milligrams per day. But with this you have to take care that you don't overdose, because they have quite some severe side effects if you have too much of zinc. Yeah, and also I'm taking a vitamin B complex, but it's empty, so I have to get a new one. So this is what I'm taking: probiotics and other medication supplements that you need for a good thyroid function. But the most important thing was the gluten-free and milk-free diet. I feel much better not eating it, and I can even prove it scientifically. So let's look up my antibodies. Alright folks, so I just have looked through all of my documents here. It's basically blood samples and blood diagnostics. And yeah, so this is my antibody values, and most of the time my antibodies were above 600. So I had 2 times like I had above 600, which means they don't measure over 600, because then it ends, and they don't measure if you have more because it's already so high. So 2 times I had over 600, then 1 time I had over 1000, so pretty high, and 1 time I had 740. So basically I was always way over 600, okay, with my antibodies. And usually you should have something like under 20 or something. So the norm is way below that. Yeah, and I have felt miserable for the last 5-6 years. But then I started the gluten-free diet, and I started with it. I haven't eaten any gluten and any milk since the 1st of January of 2018. Okay, that's when I started the diet. And the problem is that these antibodies, they have quite a long memory time, so they will remember the trigger. Even if you don't eat the trigger anymore, they will remember it for a very long time. Okay, so I started with my diet in 2018 in January. And then in June, 6 months later, I went to the doctor again and I made this blood test here, this one. And then my TPO antibodies were only at 280 anymore. So basically, they have decreased by the half. And I've never had such a good value in the last 7 years, except yesterday. So now it's half a year later again. Now it's January of 2019. And yesterday I went to the doctor and he showed me the blood test that I made. So I still have a TSH of 5.7 and my antibodies are only at 99 anymore, so almost 100. So now I have 6-7 times less of antibodies than I had 1 year ago. So this is a huge success, and I have scientific proof that this diet works. And yeah, I can only emphasize that if you have Hashimoto's as well, that you try this gluten-free and dairy-free diet as well, and maybe it will help you. And I only say maybe because maybe this was not your trigger. Okay, there are many different triggers of Hashimoto's disease, but gluten and dairy, they say that gluten and dairy causes like 30% of all the Hashimoto diseases. So maybe you are lucky and maybe you belong to these 30-40% of people who get Hashimoto's because of the diet. And this is definitely a diet that you can try if you have Hashimoto's disease, or maybe you know a friend who has this disease, and maybe you can tell him or her that there's this great book here, which I can really recommend. And I know a lot of people, a lot of medical doctors say that it's unhealable, it's treatable but unhealable. So, but I'm not sure about that anymore, because I think that if I reduce the trigger or remove the trigger, I think then maybe the thyroid can get healed again. So that's my theory, and yeah, we will see if I'm right or wrong in future. And even if I don't get healed of this disease, I'm still very happy now, because I have like 90% of my energy back, and it's almost like I almost have as much energy as I had with 16, you know. So if you want to try the same thing, then please don't start right now, but first you want to go to the doctor, you make another blood test, and you say to the doctor that you want to have the antibodies in your blood test, TPO and TG antibodies. And then you make your blood test, and after that you start with the diet, and then you will see if this is the right diet for you. Okay, so that's it for today. Enough of rambling, and I really want to thank you for watching, and please share this video with every Hashimoto patient that you know, and maybe you have your own experiences with this, because I know a lot of people who tried this diet and who felt better as well. So maybe share your experience in the comment section below and let me know how you feel. Stay tuned till next time.